Hello, my smart, beautiful empaths that call themselves actors. Welcome to my channel. I am Effie Spence, and today we are going to talk about survival jobs. So, in our last episode, we talked about where to live, where to start out, whether New York is a good fit for you, if LA is a good fit for you, if home is a good fit for you, wherever home is, or something wild like England or Australia is good for you. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what types of jobs actors need to survive so that you can thrive within your own industry. Number one piece of advice is to try to get a job working in the industry, whether that's script supervising or if you have other skills, like if you can edit, if you want to try out being an assistant for someone else who's a writer, just any entry level position, mailroom at an agency. The kind of do's and don'ts of working in the industry is that one, people get really like they look like they've stepped on a turd whenever you say I'm an actor. So just be aware of that, especially in a city like LA where everybody's an actor. People get a little bit suspicious because, in their defense, there are a lot of kind of crazy people that move to this town and are either difficult to work with or unprofessional or are just there for the chance to get seen as opposed to doing a good job. And there's also this fear that if you work, let's say, even doing background acting, I've heard this time and time again where people are like, oh, if you do background too much, they're not going to see you as a star because they're gonna see you with what they think you're worth. But I found that to not be the case. I think work begets work, and a hardworking, dedicated individual is going to go a lot further than if you're trying to kind of jump in through the side gate. Working background is great because you're on set, you get to see how it works, you get to kind of be a fly on the wall with like how fast actors have to emote because time is money and money is time, and it's not this like big dramatic thing. Like I feel like when I was green here, I thought that being on set meant that you and the director get this like really beautiful moment in between every single take where it's very artistic and that's just not the case. It's just like ready, set, action, go. Okay, do it again. Okay, move the light. Okay, a lot of it's technical. So all your work has to come before, but that'll be in another episode down the line when we talk about preparation, scene work, etc., breaking down scripts. Another great job, something that I've been looking to get into, is being a casting assistant or a reader for casting offices. So this isn't easy to get into because there's a lot of gatekeeping in this industry, like a lot. That's really cool because you're just in the room and you can see what the process is like, and you can, like, anytime that I've done casting, whether for my own projects, my friends' projects, for an actual casting director, like, it's fascinating to watch that process, and you can see kind of the do's and don'ts of like how not to approach an in-person audition and how to approach an in-person audition, and the fact that it is this weird movie magic where they'll be a fantastic actor and they're just not right for the part, but you don't forget them either. Like I was directing a short play recently and I was casting, and I like, this is why it's fascinating. It's not like you're not even looking for someone who looks like the person that you pictured in your mind. It's all about feelings. It's all about just kind of getting a vibe. And there were great people that auditioned, and I could see how I could bend my directing to fit that person. But then it boiled down to just like there was really just one girl who could play her, and I still don't know why, but she was an excellent choice and she was phenomenal, and we won best play. And it's a fascinating process. So I'd feel like being a casting assistant or being in the casting room is a really great opportunity, not only to be in the room and be able to hire your chance of being at the right place at the right time, because you just never know. They could be like with like Emma Louise Corrin, they were reading for Princess Diana for Emerald Fennell in the casting room, and they worked on an accent with their mom, and because their mom's a dialect coach, I believe, and they listen to this 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 young person reading as Princess Diana, not even on camera, and they were like, "That's Princess Diana," and that's how they got the job on The Crown. Um, so you just never know. Those are a little bit more difficult. Any sort of like assistant jobs or celebrity assistant jobs are a little bit more difficult to get hired by because of the gatekeeping that happens in this town a bit, especially in Los Angeles. I don't know about New York, but I'm assuming because there's a lot of thirsty people. So you want to make sure that your well is nice and full for yourself. I had this really cool job for a while. It didn't pay great, but it was really flexible. And that is a word that you're going to hear a lot in this episode, flexible. In order to really dedicate yourself to acting and to this kind of back and forth industry, like we just got out of a big strike and there was not a lot of work for people. Hold for plane. That's also something you'll hear on set. Hold for plane. And then everybody stands here quietly and we go. Okay, and we're back. What was I saying? So I forget what I was saying. So we'll just go back to kind of the baseboard. So when you're looking at those kind of part-time jobs, flexibility is a big word that you want to make sure that you prioritize. So whether it's you find work that's remote, so if you're doing like copywriting or copy editing, which is what I do, or you are doing online tutoring, or you have a different skill that you can offer your own tutoring services for, like let's say you're a gifted pianist, and that's like anything that you can do that's on your own schedule would be ideal, because with acting you will get an audition and then it's 8 pages, and then you want to have your best foot forward, so you want to have it memorized, and then they ask for you to do it in the next 2 days. And honestly, the faster you get your video out, the better, the higher the chances are that you're going to be seen, because if they see someone within their first 10 takes of self-tapes, they're going to go, yep, our job's here, it's done. So you want flexible jobs. So another really big kind of, hold on, cliche one is cafes and being a waiter. And those are great because you get a ton off of tips. You get a ton of money from tips, especially in big cities if you're working as an actor in Georgia, Chicago, LA, New York, etc. You can make some serious money. I think with what I've heard, I've been lucky enough where I went down a different path, which I'll talk to you guys in a moment about. But it can be mentally exhausting, physically exhausting, energetically exhausting, spiritually exhausting. There's a lot of a-holes that live in cities that are toddlers, and I've heard a lot of horror stories of being in hospitality. But again, it's kind of like that, the money, like it's kind of becomes worth it. The route that I went down, and that I know a lot of other actors go down, is to be a nanny. So being a nanny is great, especially if you are very honest with the people in the family that you work for, where you say, hey, I'm an actor. This is why I'm here. This is my survival job. I want to be here and be professional as best as I can, but just know that I might need to cancel last minute. Is that something that would be okay with you guys? And chances are they're going to be okay with it because you're honest. And I worked for a family who was also in the industry, and that's something that's also very common, is that because a lot of us are here in Los Angeles doing the same fucking thing, excuse my language, I was just very lucky that I had to go through a few different families before kind of striking gold with the family that I ended up working for over 4 years. And we're still friends. Like, nannying was also great because you really get to almost like constantly act, because you're with kids and they're just so imaginative. And I can guarantee that anytime there's a child or an animal on camera, even if there's like this amazing scene going on, or let's say you're in a live show and there's an animal, like, you're not watching the actors, you're watching that creature that's so free and so uninhibited and not conditioned for anything yet. And so, being a nanny is really great for acting because you just get to play and explore. Like, I remember this one time, the little girl that I was nannying had this full story. We were playing tag, but she was like, okay, so I'm a fairy and you are a scientist. You're not a bad scientist, but like, you still want to study fairies and like she gave me this whole like backstory and stuff, and I was like, all right, got it, action, let's go. And I knew my backstory, I knew my whys, and it was just really fun to play. So I would say that nannying's a great job and really genuinely like the job. So that's, I think any survival job is, you want to, it has to be something that you enjoy still, because if it's not, it's just going to tear you up. And everyone's path is different, so maybe you choose a job that's in corporate or that's really really full time and it takes you away from acting all the time, but it pays really good bills and stuff. And you live in a great little apartment and it's comfortable, but and then you go cold turkey and you just fully commit to acting. Like, there's that route where you can just have no survival job and just dive right in. Hello, Crow. But I wouldn't recommend that, because I think what a lot of people are starting to realize, and a lot of people are starting to break, this kind of stereotype that you have to be a starving artist. I think a lot of people, even if you think about celebrities, are realizing that it's always good to have a side hustle. It's always good to have money coming in that's stable. Like, if you look at people like George Clooney or Ryan Reynolds or any of them, like hello, Crow, they all have other businesses. Not even A-list actors are just relying on their roles coming in, even though they are literally handed roles, dream roles, a poo-poo platter of roles. They still have tequila companies and phone companies and makeup brands, and like they constantly use their image to continue generating income. So even at the beginner level, you can do that. Like I said earlier, if you have any of your own skills, if you're into the voice and you're a music teacher, or you're really great with English and you want to be a tutor, or you're great with graphic design, like anything, use all your resources to your advantage, because you're gonna need it. That's it for survival jobs. So if you have any questions or want me to dive deeper into a specific one or have a story time with any of them, let me know. Like, comment, and share this with any of your actor friends or anyone who thinks they might want to be an actor, because I love those people, because I think everyone can be an actor. Toodles!